Meta just started charging for its AI, and it's coming for OpenAI and Anthropic. For years, Meta gave its AI away for free. That changed this week, and the shift says a lot about where the AI industry is headed next. Imagine spending years building a reputation as the free and open company in AI, the one giving away its models while everyone else charged for access, and then, overnight, flipping the switch and becoming a paid competitor instead. That's exactly what Meta did this past Thursday. And the pricing it chose wasn't just competitive. It was built to undercut some of the biggest names in AI, including OpenAI and Anthropic, by a wide margin. What happened? On Thursday, July 9th, Meta released an upgraded AI model called Muse Spark 1.1, and for the first time in the company's history, opened it up to outside developers through a paid API, a system that lets other companies plug Meta's AI directly into their own apps and products. The pricing: $1.25 for every million input tokens, and $4.25 for every million output tokens. In plain terms, tokens are small chunks of text, roughly a few letters or a short word each, that AI models read and generate. Every new developer account starts with $20 in free credits before any charges kick in. Meta's chief AI officer, Alexander Wang, called the pricing very aggressive and attractive compared to what rivals charge. CEO Mark Zuckerberg went even further, saying the price sits at roughly a quarter of what Anthropic and OpenAI charge for similar tier models. Zuckerberg was so invested in the announcement that he personally returned to X, a platform he reportedly hadn't posted on in more than 3 years, just to share the news himself. For now, access is limited to developers in the United States, and it's offered through a waitlist rather than open to everyone immediately. Some background: how we got here. To understand why this matters, it helps to rewind a few years. Meta built its entire AI reputation on its Llama family of models, which it released as open weights, meaning anyone could download the technology for free and build on top of it. That strategy worked. Llama models have been downloaded more than 1.2 billion times, and by early 2026, were being downloaded at a pace of roughly 1 million times a day. Meta funded all of this largely through its advertising business, treating AI development as a long-term investment rather than a direct revenue stream. Then, in April of this year, Meta quietly shifted gears. It released the first version of Muse Spark, but instead of open sourcing it, the company kept it locked behind a private preview, available only to a small group of select partners. Coding, notably, was considered one of that first version's weaker areas. 3 months later, Muse Spark 1.1 is Meta's answer to that weakness, and its first real commercial product in the AI space. This isn't just a price change bolted onto an old model. Meta made real upgrades. It can process up to 1 million tokens of context at once, roughly enough to digest a very long document, a large code base, or hours of conversation in a single pass. It's built for agentic work, meaning it can plan out multi-step tasks, coordinate several AI sub-agents working in parallel, and decide on its own when a task needs to be escalated back to a lead model. It can natively process images, video, and documents, not just text. It comes with a computer use mode, letting it interact with software tools and interfaces the way a person would. Meta specifically trained the model to be strong at coding. According to Wang, that's not an accident. He's argued that coding ability is the foundation for almost everything else an AI agent needs to do, comparing well-trained coding agents to having a fleet of human interns available at all times. The model's thinking mode is already live inside the Meta AI app. And notably, Meta designed the API to be compatible with the same technical format OpenAI uses, meaning developers who already built tools around OpenAI's system can plug in Meta's model with minimal rework. Early reactions from developers have been largely positive. Replit's CEO, Amjad Masad, described it as a complete foundation for agentic work, pointing to its context window, multimodal abilities, and tool calling. The CEO of Klein, another coding tool company, praised its price-to-performance ratio for large-scale coding workloads. Box was also named as an early access partner. That said, independent reviewers have urged some caution. At least one independent benchmarking report found Muse Spark 1.1 scoring noticeably lower than Meta's own internal figures on a widely used coding benchmark. And because it's a reasoning model, meaning it thinks through problems internally before answering, that internal thinking is billed at the more expensive output token rate, which can make real-world costs higher than the sticker price suggests for complex tasks. How the price actually compares. Here's where things get interesting for developers watching their budgets. Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 5 currently charges $2 per million input tokens and $10 per million output tokens through the end of August, after which the price rises to $3 and $15. Anthropic's more powerful Claude Opus 4.8 charges $5 for input and $25 for output. On the OpenAI side, comparable coding-focused models run well above Meta's new pricing as well. Put simply, for high-volume coding agent workloads, Meta's output pricing is roughly a quarter of what its two biggest rivals charge for comparable tiers of service. If a large coding workflow costs somewhere in the range of $25 to $30 per million output tokens on a flagship Claude or GPT model, that same workload could run for around $4.25 on Meta's new API. That's a meaningful gap, enough that industry writers have flagged it as a serious reason for cost-conscious teams to at least test the model, even if they don't fully switch over right away. The bigger model waiting in the wings. Behind Muse Spark 1.1, internally codenamed Avocado, sits something much larger still in training, a model codenamed Watermelon. Wang has reportedly told Meta staff that Watermelon already matches OpenAI's newer flagship model on internal benchmarks, though Meta hasn't disclosed which benchmarks or offered a timeline. When directly asked when Meta would ship something capable of matching Anthropic's top-tier Opus-class models, specifically on coding tasks, Wang's answer was brief: pretty soon. That's a notably confident tone from a company that, as recently as this spring, was widely seen as trailing in the broader AI race rather than leading it. Interestingly, Muse Spark 1.1 wasn't even the only launch that week. Just 2 days earlier, on Tuesday, Meta also released an image generation model called Muse Image, internally codenamed Mango, part of the same broader push from Meta's Superintelligence Labs, the research unit Wang has led since being brought on from Scale AI. Why Meta is doing this now? None of this comes cheap, and that's really the heart of the story. On Tuesday, the same week as the Muse Spark launch, Meta told investors to expect somewhere between $125 billion and $145 billion in infrastructure spending this year alone, covering chips, data centers, and power. That includes Meta's first fully in-house AI chip, codenamed Iris, being built with partners Broadcom and TSMC, with production expected to begin in September. Wall Street has been nervous about all of this spending for months. Meta's stock has been trading well below its 52-week high of around $796, down roughly 13% for the year, as investors questioned whether the company's enormous AI bets would ever pay off. Thursday broke that pattern. Meta's shares jumped almost 5% in a single day, a sign that investors were reassured, not just by the Muse Spark 1.1 launch itself, but by the accompanying update on the Iris chip's production timeline. For a stock that had spent months absorbing doubt about Meta's AI spending, it was a rare moment of relief. Why this matters. This story isn't really about one model update. It's about a strategic pivot. For years, the assumption in the AI industry was that Meta would keep playing a different game than OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic, giving away powerful models for free and monetizing everything else around them through ads and its family of apps. That assumption no longer holds. Meta is now explicitly trying to win developers over on price, using its enormous infrastructure and consumer reach as leverage. It's a strategy aimed squarely at software teams that already default to OpenAI's or Anthropic's coding tools. And it's a bet that price sensitivity, especially for high-volume automated coding work, will be enough to pull at least some of that business away. Meta says it remains committed to open source in some form. Wang has confirmed that a separate open-source variant of Muse Spark is in development, though he hasn't given any timeline for its release. What happens next? For now, Meta has proven it can move fast, shipping 2 major AI models in a single week, alongside a real commercial pricing strategy. What's far less certain is whether cheaper tokens are enough to change developer habits that are already deeply set. Cheap pricing doesn't automatically mean cheap results. Real-world AI agent costs come from more than just per-token rates, retries, long conversations, failed attempts, and the cleanup work engineers still have to do after an AI edits code all add up. Several independent reviewers have suggested treating Muse Spark 1.1 as a serious benchmark worth testing, rather than an instant replacement for the coding tools teams already trust, especially for sensitive or proprietary code bases where the model's data handling terms haven't been fully detailed yet. The bigger question hanging over all of it: will Meta's price cut be enough to pull developers away from Anthropic and OpenAI? Or will it simply force those companies to lower their own prices in response? Either way, one thing seems clear. The era of Meta giving its best AI away for free is over, and the next phase of the AI price war has officially begun.